Hey, here we are. One last time. Oh, I shouldn't have started off by saying that. We're live from the edge here, the 14th time, talking about Star Trek Discovery episode 15, the last episode of this season. But the good news is we get another season, so that's good. It's not like this is the last episode of the series. It's the end of the season. So anyway, this is Live from the Edge. As I mentioned, this is a sub show to the Edge podcast here on Trek FM. And I'm Bruce Gibson. And with me, as always, Brandi Jacola.
Hi.
How are you doing, Troy? I mean, Brandi.
That's okay. That's okay. I love Troy. So if you compare me to her, I'm fine with that. I am a bit of an empathic introvert. So, I'm doing well. A little worried. I might cry again tonight. So fair warning to everyone.
That's okay, because you're Counselor Troy. You're emotional. You sense people's emotions. And so that's why you might cry. And the reason we're calling you Troy tonight is because you said your hair looks like Deanna Troy's hair.
It does look like Deanna Troy's hair in the pilot episode of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Yes, Encounter at Farpoint.
Yeah, Encounter at Farpoint, because she had the natural curl going on in that one. And that is what happened to me today. And the wind got hold of it at one point too. So the thing is, you can't brush out natural curls because then it just goes... And it's already enough. So.
Well, that is the topic of today's show.
Is Deanna Troy's hair?
Deanna Troy's hair. No.
I'm wearing my disco shirt, though.
Did you? I almost wore mine, but I wore a different shirt. I'm still wearing Discovery.
See,
shirt,
that's good.
Shirt.
I want that shirt, too. I just haven't gotten it yet.
I have this in long sleeve and short sleeve. I'm wearing the long sleeve.
Oh, shut up. I love long sleeve shirts in the winter. Oh my gosh, we have another person with us. We ought to introduce him.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you would think after doing so many of these shows that we have got our act together, but we still don't. I mean, remember the first show? I mean, that was nerve-wracking because the first time we did it was you, me, and wait, who was on our first show?
That guy was terrible.
Oh, no, it was you, Patrick. Patrick Devlin from Warp 5 joining in.
Hello, everyone.
You are our bookend. We love it.
How's everyone today?
We're groovy, but how are you, Patrick?
I'm good. Unfortunately, I didn't dress for the occasion. I didn't know we were doing matching shirts today. So
well, we're not really matching per se.
I didn't get a disco shirt on. So sorry.
Well, we can play you some disco music and you can just dance.
Yeah, I got quite a few disco albums, so you just let me know what's your favorite year of disco.
None of them. I wasn't even alive for them.
You know what? Just shut up. You're just gonna be annoying about how young you are compared to the rest of us. Thanks a heap.
Oh my gosh, is this another Warp 5? What's going on here?
I wasn't alive. I don't watch movies that happened before I was born. I don't seek them out.
Yeah, I did say that, didn't I?
Yes, you did. You did.
That was technically a lie because that movie aired in 83. That movie came out in 83. I was actually technically alive then.
Ha, so there.
So,
I love how you were technically alive then. You just weren't alive then. You were technically
Well, I mean,
alive.
what 1-year-old watches movies about spacemen? Documentary movies.
Me probably.
Yeah.
I probably did, but I don't remember it. I watched lots of things that I don't remember because that was what my parents watched. So
cool. We'll go with that. I watched it.
There you go.
There we go.
There you go.
Hey,
that works.
Did you also watch Star Trek Discovery last night?
I did actually watch Star Trek Discovery last night and today twice.
Oh, good. Brandi, how many times have you seen this latest episode, the last episode, Will You Take My Hand?
1.5.
Wait, I have to ask, why the half?
Because I just didn't have time to do the whole episode, so I started in the middle and watched the rest.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to tell me you just couldn't get through it because you were too emotional.
No, that was it too. No, but I wanted to revisit the emotional parts and see if I still felt emotional. The answer is yes.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. So, okay, let's get things started and tell everybody how they can interact on this live reaction show. So, we are on YouTube. So, anybody who's in the chat, you can make your comments and just chat with us or chat with everybody in the chat on this YouTube channel. And you can also tweet to us. You can tweet at Trek FM and use the hashtag Live the Edge. That's hashtag Live the Edge. And we'll read some of your stuff as we go along. And so we'll go right into it. Episode 15, Star Trek Discovery, the season finale called Will You Take My Hand? With a question mark. Hand? Will you take my hand?
I thought of it as more of a, will you take my hand? I don't know. Just inflection. I don't know.
I don't know either. Okay, so it starts off, we have Captain Georgiou, and she is captain of the Discovery. Thank you to Admiral Cornwell for putting her there. So what'd you guys think? That's how the previous episode ended, but now we're starting off with her on the bridge, and she's commanding the crew to go to Kronos to try to conquer those Klingons. So what'd you think of her being placed there as captain of the Discovery?
Go ahead, Patrick.
It kind of makes sense that they're like, they seem, at this point they're backed into a corner where it's either they're going to somehow end this war quickly or they're going to lose this war quickly to the Klingons. So they have to do something drastic. This is a drastic move. So it makes sense that this happened. I just don't think I like it.
Now, I feel like it was the mother of all bad ideas. But the thing is that I actually, and shout out to my friend Tom in England who had the same kind of theory as I did. I thought that maybe Michael was going to be put in this position again where she has to mutiny against her captain, mutiny against Georgiou. And she kind of is, but not really. It's more like she's going to mutiny against Admiral Cornwell, but it really didn't quite turn out that way. I thought she was going to have to make that hard decision again and lose Georgiou, but that's not how it worked out. And the thing is I knew that it was a bad idea to have Georgiou, and I thought she's going to annihilate the Klingons. The thing we didn't know is that she was trying to do that with Starfleet's blessing.
Right. I have a problem with that myself.
I do too, because like Michael says, that's not Starfleet. And
right.
If we don't live by our own principles, then we're no better than anyone else. So if we're going to judge other people by our own principles, but then not live up to them ourselves, that's kind of calling the kettle black.
Well, and I've liked Cornwell for the most part up to this point. I didn't really understand this decision. Maybe it's just a decision of desperation, and if Starfleet was behind it, I really don't understand that. But okay, I accept it for the story that they're trying to tell. But again, I mean, if they feel like the Federation's about to be wiped out totally, then yeah, maybe Georgiou from the Mirror Universe convinced them that, she can really, prevent annihilation of the Federation by stopping the Klingons. But I don't think this is the right way to do it.
It's not the right way to do it. And the thing is that Sarek also signed off on it. So that was like, in my opinion, a nice backup to Admiral Cornwell, which made her possibly feel better about that decision in the moment. But at the same time, I'm like, you're a therapist. Why don't you analyze yourself for a minute? What are you giving up in order to do this? You're giving up everything that you stand for. And that's not Starfleet.
No, it's not Starfleet, but isn't that an echo of what Georgiou said to Burnham in the very first episode?
Yes, exactly. And I agree that it had to come full circle so that Michael would understand why it was important to adhere to your principles no matter what, even in the darkest of moments. And she had already learned that lesson. And she knows now that this is not the way you can do things and maintain any kind of respect for yourself or others. It's just, I understand where the decision came from. I really, really honestly do. But it wasn't the right one.
No.
So my thought on this, though, is strategically it's genius. Blow up a planet and you're done with the war. But like you said, it completely against their principles and everything. But I do love the line where Burnham basically says, "Do I have to mutiny here today?" It's an awesome line because she's basically, again, it's going full circle. But this time, she's not doing it. She's doing it for the right reasons this time. When before she just believed she was doing it for the right reasons.
Agree.
You know, this one will save the Federation, not the other way around.
Yes, absolutely. Boy, we really jumped ahead in this episode. I apologize, but I could not discuss the whole Georgiou situation without getting to those other parts. But yeah, it was very clear within the first few minutes of the episode that Georgiou was not Starfleet, because nobody in Starfleet talks to their people like that.
Okay. No. So does that not annoy you that nobody else realizes she's not the real Georgiou?
I don't think so, because they never had most of them didn't have any experience with her.
They had to have heard stories that she's not telling people, I don't care what we're scanning, and don't call it a home world. Don't give respect to your enemies. Like, that's so far from Starfleet ideals to begin with.
Yeah. Well, everybody was, I'm sorry, go ahead, Bruce.
Well, no, I have two answers to that. Well, they have just been serving under Mir Lorca forever, so they're used to kind of non-Starfleet ways of commanding, not to this extreme. But second of all, I'm not sure if they didn't figure it out. I mean, they're not told directly that she's from the Mir universe, but that doesn't mean that as they're sitting there, they're not putting two and two together and thinking, okay, this may not be the real Georgiou of our universe. This could be but they're not going to stand up and go, whoa, wait a second. Aren't you from the Mir universe? I think I figured you out, lady.
Yeah, true. I don't know. I guess because when Tilly doesn't realize it at first, I just assumed everyone else didn't realize it either. But
well, maybe
Tilly
not
wasn't
at
on the
first.
bridge, so
she wasn't on the bridge, but she didn't know at first, but she quickly figured it out.
Oh,
and
she
so
was.
I'm thinking some of the crew did too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Detmer had figured it out, because just the looks that she was giving, turning around, looking at her like, what in the hell is wrong with you? So I think that it was pretty clear very quickly to the rest of the bridge crew that this was not the Georgiou they'd heard about. So they were probably pretty... I don't know if they would have, I think they would have been upset, but they're Starfleet officers, so they're doing their best to obey their captain, and yet, yeah, she's treating them horribly. And what does acting like that get you, really? Nothing.
They get you to be emperor.
Yeah, but you'll catch more flies with the honey.
And captain of the ship.
Yeah, but not for very long.
And a really big bomb that could blow up a world. That's a couple of really good things to get.
Yeah, well, it wasn't such a big bomb, but
so full disclosure, I'm also the guy who wants to see stuff blow up constantly, and Starfleet things happen. And even I thought this was excessive. So,
well, then we have it from an authority on the matter. This was excessive force.
Well, because we had a commercial break, and then when we came back, we saw Kronos exploding.
Yeah, that was a nice touch. And then it became a simulation, and we're like, oh, okay, good. Because that would have been really weird.
So much more sense now. I have ad blocker. I don't get the commercials.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I pay more so that I don't have the commercial interruptions. But I know where the commercials are supposed to be. It's quite obvious.
So. I was just watching, and I was like, wow, that's weird. Oh, simulation, right. Just doesn't have the same effect without the commercial, I think.
Well, it did to me, because both my husband and I were sitting there going, wait, what? And then, simulation. Okay. Because I was totally convinced, even before the episode, that Georgiou was going to blow up Kronos. So.
Yeah. Iron Throne says they trolled that scene in last week's Next Week of Cronus.
They did.
Oh, did they?
I don't remember, but
I don't watch them. So I never know.
I do watch them sometime like later or something like that. Not the first time I watched the episode, but yeah, the commercial breaks, I don't pay for the commercials either, or I pay not to see the commercials. So it'd be really weird to watch this with commercials. I can't even imagine.
I don't want to imagine. I don't like commercials.
Yeah, I pay the regular rate, but I have an ad blocker on my stuff so that I just don't get commercials on anything anymore.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I'm with you on that. So yeah, by the way, when I saw Cronus explode, my first thought was, aha, this is another universe. We've started another timeline. That's where I went.
Yeah, not so much.
Boy, I'm glad you were wrong.
Yeah, because so many people, I think, were expecting it to be revealed as another universe other than the Prime universe, or to have them go back in time and hit the reset button. And neither of those things happened, for which I'm grateful, because I think that would have been a bit of a cop-out.
Mm-hmm.
No, that would have possibly been the worst season finale of a show ever. If it was just some, guys, we were kidding for a year. We were kidding. It's all a joke. Sorry.
Kind of like that whole, okay, you're not going to understand this, Patrick.
Oh, before my time, okay.
It's going to be it's before your time. But it's kind of like when Dallas killed off Bobby and then...
No, I know this one. And then they brought him back because so many people were mad.
And
yeah, because you were technically alive then.
I was technically alive.
And so his wife is like, she finds him in the shower and she's like, what are you doing here? And then she finds out that the last year was all a dream.
Yes. Yeah. I did know that because it was in an art. Here's the interesting part. It was in an article where they explained the biggest times fans like lost their minds about a death. And it just happened that the first part of that article was about Spock. So I just kept reading, and that's the reason why I know about Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, good for you. You learned something today about something you didn't actually witness.
You all know that I can read.
Yay! Yes. Reading is fundamental.
Yes. Well, starting next week, since we're on a break now with Discovery, we're going to start reviewing Dallas on these episodes. So we'll get to that season eventually.
Are we doing
I gotta be the guest for that
then, or the new one?
The one I know.
We're going to start with the old and then hit the new one that came
Perfect.
after
Perfect.
that. So,
Fantastic.
and Todd Waters says commercials allow you to get up and make more popcorn. I love that saying because not just make popcorn, make more. I am so with you, Todd. Always having more popcorn. And Brian says, I want to know what they normally use the hydro bombs for. Tilly was cut off in her explanation. And Alexander says hydro bombs cause water to rapidly vaporize. The effect is explosion.
A big steam explosion.
Yeah, it's a quick way to terraform a planet, right?
I guess.
More water.
Yeah, I guess. The thing is that in this day and age, you don't need commercials to get up and make popcorn, because when that hits that point where you know there's a commercial break, there's this thing called a pause button. And so you pause it and then you come back when you're done making your popcorn. You can do that with live TV too on cable and with satellite dishes.
Yeah, that's
I don't know if y'all know this.
Unfair. Unpopular opinion. I hate popcorn.
Oh my gosh.
You know what? Get off the show.
Yes.
I can't stand popcorn.
I hope that's the only thing you hate.
It's okay. I like it in theory, but there's always that one little husk of a kernel that gets stuck
and that's why I don't eat it at all.
Yeah, I can understand that. But
I go get
you're probably smart.
I go get a chocolate bar.
Chocolate bar
my
and
favorite
marshmallows.
thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Because marshmallows.
Yes. Chocolate marshmallows.
Yeah, we're not getting into that. So besides Automated Joy asking why you hate popcorn, which we'll skip over that, but Automated Joy also says commercials give you a chance to refill your Tranya.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah. I have to Google now.
Oh, that's from TOS.
Oh my goodness.
That's before my time.
Howard.
However, I did watch every episode of those.
Okay, it's Clint Howard in TOS with the Tranya, the little drink.
Right. Thank you.
And Clint Howard
especially
in this episode.
Yeah, because I was looking when they got into that scene, I'm like, is that Clint Howard? That is Clint Howard. Well, welcome back, little buddy.
Exactly. Do you know who Clint Howard is, Patrick?
Yeah. I've besides the fact that it is before my time, I have watched every episode of TOS.
Okay, good.
You know, it was technically before my time too, but it was in reruns when I was born. So
Well, I watched it with my dad, so that's how I got into Star Trek. So, but typically, no, if it's before my time, I don't watch it. No.
Okay.
It's like a rule I guess I have that I didn't know about till recently. And apparently it's a problem for Brandi. So
I'm just saying there's a lot of interesting stuff out there that happened
that's
before
not
you
true.
were
My
born.
favorite show of all time is Dick Van Dyke Show. Which is way before my time.
Yeah.
That's
So there you go. You're a liar.
Yes, I am. But that's like
you are.
I still use that excuse when I have to.
Fine. Fine.
So did anyone think when you saw a green Clint Howard, he was Baylock, just older and turning green?
No.
Okay. So what'd you think of the Orions? I thought the Orions were quite interesting because they looked a little more human than what we've seen, especially of the male Orions that we saw in Enterprise that were much bigger and like Incredible Hulks in a sense, or like Shrek.
Yeah,
Okay.
to be fair, they were slavers.
They were
So
slavers.
They had to be intimidating.
I thought the green coloring looked more natural. Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
in Enterprise, they did.
Yeah, they used the giant, but no, I thought this was cool because you got to see like a community of them, like more of a community aspect to them, not just the slavers.
Yeah.
And it was a little weird that when they dropped it was like a bad 80s like post-apocalyptic movie going on down there. But yeah, right. But it was like Demolition Man all over again. Flashbacks, bad. But
that wasn't 80s, but go on.
Was that the 90s?
Yes.
I get my decades all messed up now. So either way, that was the 80s aesthetic anyway, that whole leather jacket thing, like the Warriors and stuff. But I don't know. That's kind of what that scene reminded me of. But then it got okay when they went to the circus and stuff until he got high. That was kind of cool. She just kind of passes out. That was funny. But yeah,
that
really
was great. I love Tilly getting high. That was classic right there.
My only
she
problem
passes
is
out.
Like since the break, she's kind of just become like comic relief.
Not completely. She was always humorous.
No, yes, I know, but it just seems she's more that way than I thought she was going to evolve more into a more serious character as the season went on. It just didn't work.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that Tilly is ever going to be completely serious, and I commend her for that because I would love for her to be my captain. I would follow her anywhere. So
I think it's interesting because my wife watched it last night with me, and she said that Tilly makes her a little uncomfortable. And I asked her why, and she says because she's the character on Star Trek that is most like herself, like my wife. My wife relates to her. She goes, that would be me. If I was on a starship, I would probably act just like Tilly. And I guess my wife's comic relief.
But which way you're going with that? Okay. I just insulted a man's wife. Great.
Hey, she'll tell you I'm the comic relief in this family, but maybe she is because she's Tilly. But Alexander says that the Orion skin color looked real versus the caked on makeup we've seen before. And I did think it looked more natural. And B. Loud says that the Orions seem a lot paler on the TV, liking the deeper green color from Enterprise. There were times where I was like, wait, is that an Orion? I can't tell if it's green or not because the lighting and they were very pale. So, yeah, but I did like the natural. Dark. Yeah.
So you're not gonna see the pigmentation because they weren't as dark as that caked on makeup, which I thought was good. But I guess with the lighting, then you kind of miss that detail sometimes.
Right. Well, I look at it like I look at all the other races in Star Trek that have different skin tones. There's variations of color in each species. And I mean, not all Andorians are the exact same blue. Some of them are a darker blue. Some of them are a lighter blue. Some of them are white because they're the ice dwellers and whatnot. What do they call them? The Enar. Yeah. Anyway, so to me, it was just like, oh, so these guys are just, a different cross section of the Orions as a whole. They're going to have different colorations in their skin tones.
Right, and they're also on they're on Kronos, not wherever else we've seen these other ones come from. So,
which seems like a very dark place, like literally without sunlight, sort of dark.
And the planet is green, and lots of blowing up stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yes, and some guy named Dave Jacola says it's weird Klingons would share their homeworld with any race, Orion or otherwise, and that's true. I love that though. When they said the Orions had like an embassy base or whatever there, I thought that was great because I love the fact that it's not just Klingons on the planet, just like there's other countries have embassies, planets have embassies, and it was cool that the Orions were there. I love that.
Really, I threw my hands up in the air and was like, "Are you kidding?" I couldn't believe it.
No, if any race in Star Trek universe, the Klingons are going to accept anybody, it'd probably be the Orions.
Well, true, but their whole point is unification and getting rid of all other cultures from interfering with theirs. And now we find out that there's an Orion area on the planet.
Well, because they put on a good show and make really good eel.
That's true. But Alexander Olivares Sanchez says the Klingons and Orions have been trading with each other for centuries, so it would not be unusual to see them on Kronos.
Good answer.
Yeah. Yeah. And I am never going to eat one of those eels. I'm sorry, but no.
What about the space whale?
I would be down with that. I don't know why she threw it away. What's wrong with a space whale?
I heard that the actresses are both vegetarians, so they had to use some other thing that make it look like meat or whatever.
Good for them. It was probably some kind of
tofu or something.
Tofu product that was colored to look like meat.
Yeah,
but she said it was delicious, right?
She did. I hope they serve it at the next STLV.
It's called acting.
But I don't understand. Like, she said it was delicious, and then they say it's space whale, and she spits it out and throws it away, and I still don't understand what's wrong with space whale.
Maybe because they had an encounter with this space whale earlier in the season when time became a loop. When time became a loop. Sorry. I'll stop now.
I don't know. Maybe Tilly's a vegetarian.
Yeah,
just
maybe.
Like the actress. I don't know. Chris Manning says in the chat the meat was based on coconut.
Ah, nice.
Interesting.
Okay, I want to get to some emotional parts here.
Okay.
So Admiral Cornwell, when Burnham approaches her on the bridge, well, Cornwell's not on the bridge, but her,
holographic representation.
Holographic, yes. And Burnham is talking about, this is going back to what we talked about earlier about, we're Starfleet. It's all about our principles. And she says, do we need a mutiny today to prove who we are? And Saru stands up and says, we are Starfleet. And the rest of the crew stands up. And that was just a big bonding moment for the crew. And to stand up to Cornwell and prove and show that they are United Starfleet crew.
Okay, so unpopular opinion. Unpopular opinion number 4. Did anyone else notice that his threat gangula never works when it needs to? It didn't work before they went to go drop this bomb on the planet. Only now we find out that it's a bomb.
He should have sensed the coming of death if that was the mission.
Well, that's the thing. He didn't sense the coming of death because death didn't happen, did it?
But that's not the point. The point is he's supposed to sense it so it doesn't come. He's not. It drives me crazy. It's okay. So I mentioned before I'm going to talk about Troy, so I'll do that now. This is the same thing they did in TNG when they needed her powers to disappear just so that she couldn't read people's minds at that moment. Then it wouldn't work. And that's what they're doing with him, and it drives me crazy.
The thing is, she couldn't read people's minds. She could read their emotions.
Yes. But even that didn't work right if the fact of her or him figuring this out early on in the episode ruins the whole episode, then they just don't figure it out.
Well, to be fair, the first time he talks about sensing the coming of death was right before the whole Klingon War started. And there was a lot of death in the battle at the binary stars. Number 2, he talks about that when they're in the mirror universe and about to make their run at the Emperor's ship and basically blow up the mycelium, whatever the heck that was, and the glowy thing in the middle. Okay, I can't remember the technical name.
Right.
And he said that, his species could sense the coming of death, and he does not sense it now. So that was, apparently he's like psychic, that he only senses death when death is actually going to happen.
Okay, that's still garbage.
I mean, I'm with you on that, Patrick, because but even besides this episode, I mean, we had a mere Lorca on the bridge, and he never sensed.
Not once.
Yeah.
Okay, this guy's creepy. I'm all right with this.
Maybe,
bro, you're the ultimate fight in fight or flight, and you never seem to get it right.
Maybe he only sensed the coming of death if he feels that death is death to those around him, not death to others somewhere else.
He was able to sense. Oh man, I wish I knew the facts right now. This would help. But he sensed something on a shuttle pod once. So when he wasn't on the shuttle pod,
maybe he doesn't sense anything if he's having coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe caffeine numbs his threat ganglia, and maybe that's why he drinks so much coffee. Because sometimes, if you really think about it, in order to survive in Starfleet, he would have to really numb that threat ganglia, because it could be going off every other second. Space is dangerous, kids.
But that would make way more sense than him just being like, "Oh, wow, I didn't catch that." I don't know. That's my pet peeve with him. But
I don't know. You should talk to the writers and ask them.
Back to the main point. That was a really cool scene. I just was like, man, now you stand up and say something?
Well, yeah.
Because you have to save it for the last episode. At the end.
Well,
I don't know, Brandi. What do you think?
The thing is, the only people who knew what the plan really was before it was, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's not instigated, implemented. I knew it was an I word. Were Georgiou, Admiral Cornwell, probably the Andorian that never seems to get a name, and Sarek. And those were the only people that actually knew what the real plan was. So it wasn't until Michael got back to Discovery, explained to everyone what was going on, and then they contacted Cornwell, and that's when everybody had to make a choice. Do we stand with Starfleet, or do we allow the annihilation of a species' homeworld? And they chose the principles of Starfleet. So it didn't surprise me that that's when Saru makes his big move and says, yeah, we are Starfleet. And I knew everyone was going to be with her, because at that point, I mean, they'd worked with her. They know what she's about now. They know how she feels about what happened to her and what she did. And they've accepted that now, and they've all moved past it together. So now they are ready to follow her lead when it comes to keeping people from doing a horrible, terrible thing that Starfleet should never have even considered.
That's true. Good for her. No wonder she got re-enlisted in Starfleet by her father.
Yeah, I was totally expecting that, but it was still a beautiful thing to see. And Sarek smiled.
Did he sound like he was choking up when he said my daughter?
Yes.
That was a little bit amazing. That whole he actually had emotion for a hot second there,
right?
And then right back to Sarek,
which just goes to show you how much is actually being controlled and suppressed by that man. It's just if this is the situation that makes him a little bit emotional, then then that dude's got some massive control. Let me just say, but yeah. It was nice to see Amanda again.
Yes, Amanda, who taught Burnham about humanity, and it worked. There's a lot of touching moments in this.
So many touching moments, touching me and going up into my tear ducts and making me cry like a baby. So many of those. Basically, from the point where Ash and Michael say goodbye. From that point on, it's just like, well, no, really, it was the speech when they were confronting Cornwell, but still, when I was like, okay, I'll be fine. And then there's the whole Ash and Michael thing. Okay, I'm not fine. Just keep going. It's just.
I think all of that you're talking about is like the last, like, I don't know, 8 minutes or something. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's like boom, 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 one emotional thing after another.
Exactly, and so it just. Quick. Yeah, so that's why I'm sobbing by the end of the episode. Okay. Because I can't recover from the first thing before the second thing comes along. So it's more like, and there's like,
well, this will make you cry too, because Chris Manning in the chat says Sarek cares more for Burnham than Spock, and he doesn't even discuss or acknowledge Cybok.
Who wants to discuss or acknowledge Cybok? Raise your hands. Nobody? Cybok? Right. Who cares?
Cybok on the next season.
Does anyone care where Cybok is? I really don't think so.
Because we want Cybok there to, help her pain.
No. No, we don't.
Just no. Just absolutely not.
No. So much no. There isn't enough no in the world for me to express how no that is. No.
I need my pain. Speaking of pain, let's talk about fear, because that was also a message. How do we defeat fear? And Burnham says,
don't listen to the guy with the ganglia, because he never figures out where it is. That's the start.
The guy? His name's Saru.
Nah, when you're that bad at your job, you don't get a name. I don't call the guy on the TV what his name is. I call him the weatherman, because he's terrible at that job too.
Hey, weather is an unknowable force, okay? Apparently, the best they can do is predict. Well, yeah, fear is an unknowable force too, because it doesn't obey certain rules. Gosh.
Oh. Sorry.
No comment.
I meant fear in general, not necessarily Saru's threat ganglia.
No, I know. It just drives me crazy.
Well, I love seeing you go crazy. It's very entertaining.
It's insanity. Okay, well, so fear was a message.
Burnham's message is the way you defeat fear is to tell it no. And maybe, I'm going to help you out here, Patrick. Maybe she taught this to Saru. Standing on the bridge
horrible idea.
No.
Horrible idea.
No.
That's like teaching the Makos not to shoot guns. Horrible idea.
Oh.
Hey, it was a good speech, though. The whole no, that whole no speech. I watched this episode 3 times. I didn't memorize it, but it's very good.
Yeah, the whole no. The whole no. We have to be torchbearers, and yes, that is what the United Federation of Planets is.
Interestingly enough, she kind of stole the words from Ash, who was talking to Laurel with the torchbearer statement. But cool, I like it.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things that I think transcends race, and that was a lovely thing. Is that, and she even says. She tells Ash what happened to her parents, and he says, no wonder you hate them. And she says, I wish I could. But I look around here and I just see people living their lives.
Yeah, no, I meant that seriously. I really like that she stole the line from him, because it's her way of basically saying we're a lot more alike than we initially thought.
Yes, exactly.
14 episodes ago.
And granted, it's going to be several decades before they actually come together as allies, but even so, that first learning experience started paving the way. So they're at best uneasy. They have an uneasy treaty, so to speak. Not even quite a formal treaty, but just an uneasy understanding. you back off from us, we'll back off from you. Nobody gets hurt. Everybody's fine. So
since we're talking about that, though, was anyone upset that the war is over in one episode, in one season? Am I the only one that bothers?
No, because we already knew
glad
that
it's
was
over.
going to be happen. Let me try that again in an actual coherent sentence. We already knew that the Klingon War would not last beyond season 1. So we knew it was going to get wrapped up.
Did we?
Do feel, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was sold on this whole series was about the Klingon War.
Yeah, but
no.
I feel like no. I knew it wasn't. I figured it was going to wrap up this season, but that doesn't mean we're, over with our problems with the Klingons. But yeah, I wanted the war to end because Star Trek isn't a war series. They get into war, but I don't want it to be the whole series is about a war.
Yes, I want to see them go to strange new worlds and seek out new life and new civilizations and boldly go where no one has gone before. That is what Star Trek is. And yes, they have their struggles, and yes, there are battles along the way, but I don't want to watch an entire series about a war either. And it wasn't too far. I think it was probably a couple months ago where producers were saying, no, this war is going to be wrapped up by the end of the season. And so I was totally ready for that to happen and knew it was going to get wrapped up, which in a way is kind of a bummer, but at the same time, I didn't want it to go beyond this season, and I didn't want a stupid cliffhanger like they used to do, like some series still do, where it's like, oh, we're going to have a cliffhanger and now you have to wait 11 months or more before you see the next episode, and we'll wrap up this cliffhanger within the first 5 minutes and it will be such a letdown. And they didn't do that. They went what I call the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. direction, where they wrapped up that story and then teased a new one. And I really appreciate that way more than having a cliffhanger before you conclude that story arc. Just give me the whole story and then tease me with next year's story. That's what I like. That's how you make sure I'm going to come back.
Yes.
No,
Don't be a soap opera.
I definitely wanted at least another year of war. I also felt that Mirrorverse was just at the end. I know we got a lot of information in Mirrorverse, so I know it's not only what I'm about to say, but I felt like they somewhat used that to jump ahead in the war just for the sake of getting over with it quicker. And I don't like that. I wanted to see maybe not necessarily the war part of it, the aspect of actual fighting, but I wanted to see the way Starfleet got from being Starfleet to we're ready to blow up to blow up Kronos. I wanted to see that character development, not just, oh, we're backed into a corner, so this is what we did.
Right. You saw, in other words, we start the season with the start of the war and then jump fast forward to the end.
Right. And we missed the character development in Cornwell and the other people involved in the war that would lead you to them okaying Georgiou blowing up a whole planet.
Okay. I'm making a note to contact Simon Schuster to write a book about the war. That would be cool. That would be cool. I like the idea. Anyway, Little Green Neighbor also said what you were saying, Brandi, right before you said it. Said the producers announced that the war would be done in the first season. So that, I guess that was mentioned. I don't even remember that or not. But
yeah, I didn't really pay attention to what they were saying while the series was going on. I was under the impression before it started that the series was going to be more about the war, not just the season.
Right.
Well, like you said, we're going to have some aftermath of all this that we have to deal with, but
yeah, eventually. Exactly. So Tilly is in the training command program now, and Stamets gets an honor, and so does Colbert, and Saru is also the first Kelpian to receive the Medal of Honor. So there's a lot going on there.
Oh, Stamets got a promotion. He was a lieutenant before. Now he's a lieutenant commander.
Yeah, but we still don't know who the chief engineer is.
We still don't know who the chief engineer is, nor do we know who the chief medical officer is.
Nor do we know who the new captain is. It's been coming up in the chat. People are like, who do you think the new captain is? They were going to Vulcan to meet their new captain.
I really wanted it to be Saru, so I just kind of brokenhearted that it's not. But
well, I don't know. My prediction is that we will never get to that new captain because wherever we go with how this ended into season 2, they never get to Vulcan, and eventually Saru is the acting captain for the whole season, and then he just naturally gets promoted permanently into it. That's what I think will happen.
Well, I'm down with that.
Yeah, I like that theory. I'm cool.
Mhm. I hope it comes true.
But if it's not, who the cat? Do you think they'd take an existing character we know and make them captain?
Not necessarily, because, and the thing is that
Maybe
why
it's
are they going?
Cybok.
Would you let Cybok go, please?
You know what? Just to hear her have to say that all year next year, I hope it is.
You can't see what I'm doing right now.
Oh, I'm from New York. I know.
I was doing this.
Yes, we do that a lot.
Except if you do this, then it's up your kilt, which is basically like flipping someone off in England. So
yes, it is. And you know, never mind. History lesson aside,
and
I actually know why that's bad.
I do too. So let's not talk about it. But anyway.
And Burnham is also science officer. Just forgot to mention that.
Yeah, she is science officer. Well, she was science specialist, but now that she has her rank of commander back, she is science officer. So Wayne Frazier is saying Prime Lorca, maybe? Any chance he's alive? That's my fondest wish, honestly, is to just know that Prime Lorca is alive, but I don't see any way that he could be. So, Automated Joy says Robert April. I
love that idea. That would make me very happy.
Nice.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say I have no idea who it's gonna be. I can't even really speculate with any certainty. Well, speculation isn't certainty, but there's so many possibilities. I was just like, I'm not even going to try to think about it.
I think it's just going to be someone we haven't met yet. So
probably.
I think it'll be a Vulcan. So we have our first main captain as a Vulcan on a show, and we'll see where that goes.
That would be interesting too, to have a Vulcan captain that Burnham has to deal with, being from Vulcan, and I don't know. That would be interesting.
I do find it interesting that you're assuming it's going to be a man.
Who?
The new captain.
Did I say man?
Mm-hmm. You said he. A Vulcan, he.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't. Clearly, I want to see myself as captain, so that's why it's a he.
You know what? We all want to see ourselves as captain, don't we?
So you say it's a she, and we'll be okay.
So when she takes command.
Fine, whatever.
We're living in the Me Too world now, buddy.
It's a 100-some-year-old T'Pol.
You know what? She could do it.
I'm okay with that.
She was only 66 in season 3 of Enterprise. So yeah,
she was 66.
So she could totally still be alive.
So she's 166 or whatever in this. So she's in her 160s.
We know that she actually survived to be at least that old because of the Enterprise episode E Squared. So sorry, I'm rehashing Warp 5 ground. My apologies. Yes. It's just natural when Patrick's on.
It happens.
Grandma T'Pol. Yes, Ion Trent said Grandma T'Pol.
When regular T'Pol talks to her, very weird.
So, hey, what'd you think how this episode ended? There was a distress call, and there was a ship that started to show up, and they said we're getting a message from a Captain Pike.
Well, see, the thing is when they were trying to identify the ship and it was coming in very slowly on the screen and it said NCC-17, I started going, oh my goodness. I'm doing it now.
I thought it was, I really didn't think it was going to be Enterprise. When I saw NCC-17 and then they took the camera away, I was like, oh yeah, it's a tease to make us think it's Enterprise, but it's going to be like 17, 59
or 3.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know. Once they said Pike, I just knew it was the Enterprise and was like, you got to be kidding. They're going to go through all this nonsense. Just show us the ship already.
And they did.
They
They
did.
did after the NCC 17 pan away. It just, I don't know. It seemed like they thought they were showing this to a whole bunch of not Star Trek fans.
No, I think that they knew exactly what they were doing because they knew the people like me were going. So, and that's what I was doing.
But saying Pike should have done that.
Yeah, but
What, Pike should have gone.
No,
No.
here's the thing.
Yeah,
They
well, he's calling
said,
for distress, so yeah.
Hey, I rewatched the ending today. The NCC 17 comes up before they say it's Captain Pike.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Well, then,
So when he said it was
shouldn't say
Captain Pike, yeah, when he said Captain Pike, I was like, yeah, sobbing. There was sobbing, quiet sobbing, because, you know, I can be really loud when I'm sobbing, and I didn't want to get complaints from the neighbors.
Fair enough.
PJ's channel says beautifully visually rebooted Enterprise, and I have to agree.
Agree completely. It was absolutely gorgeous. And for like, I'm getting emotional again, for like half an hour, I had to go distract myself by playing video games because I just kept thinking about that and then doing this for like an hour, and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to get dehydrated, so distraction, something that has absolutely nothing to do with Star Trek. So because I just couldn't let go of that feeling, because I haven't felt like that about seeing the NCC 1701 in a really long time, and to just have that moment and have them acknowledge, yes, this is that universe. Just see, look what you guys did.
Well, you did warn me last night. That was another way you distract yourself, was messaging me.
Yeah.
So I thought the visuals were great, and I'm going to say this, knowing full well there is somebody complaining about the way it looks. I can't see how a Star Trek fan could complain about how that ship looks. And I say that full well knowing there's somebody out there, because it's Star Trek, complaining about how that looks. But the visuals throughout the whole episode I thought were great. Like when the Discovery was right above I guess it was the water on Kronos, with all the little lights shining down, and those visuals were really good. The visuals of the two ships coming together were phenomenal. I mean, I think the visuals are just overall really, really well, and probably a little bit better in this episode than they've been in previous episodes where they were really good.
Yeah, it was a visually beautiful episode.
Yeah, it was, and I did love seeing the Enterprise and like Captain April, not the real Captain April, the one in the chat. That was not the Enterprise, and that the Enterprise never looked like that. Certainly not in the 2250s. And yes, they took some liberty to, you know, make it fit into the visuals of Discovery.
But do you really? Because do you want to see that model fly up to the Discovery?
Some people do.
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to see that, because when they did the Kelvin universe, when they rebooted Star Trek and did the Kelvin universe movies, that looked like the Enterprise, but not like a 60s Enterprise. And nobody seemed to have a big problem with that. So what's the big deal here?
Well, no, because the big deal here is that's a whole different timeline. So that's how they rationalize. That's why you see so many people trying. Remember, we were just talking about it a minute ago. The real reason why everyone wanted this to be another universe or going back in time is they didn't want to admit that this all happened in prime time. They want to find a way to separate this from the other series so that all these aesthetic differences make sense to them.
Yeah. my lovely husband David said, so it didn't look like two hair dryers and a Frisbee.
Exactly. And how bad would that look up against the Discovery?
Well, see, that's the thing. They did what they could with the technology of their time. And to expect to have a series over 50 years later that makes reference to that same ship, it is not going to look the same. It is going to be more visually compatible with the technology that we have now. I don't understand why that's such a big deal. The Enterprise is always going to be the Enterprise. So
Well,
that's
and it
just
was
my
also
opinion.
the lighting. I mean, if you took, they were doing some unique things with the lighting, and if you took that lighting away, it would probably look even more like the original Enterprise. So I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I like that they went that way. Now, if we go further into season 2 and keep with the Enterprise, and we actually do meet Pike and Spock and Number One and all them, and go to the bridge, we're going to see differences. And that's the thing. Sarek doesn't look like Mark Leonard, the original Sarek. So everything is off just a little because it's a different series. But I'm
Yeah.
hoping we get on the bridge of this Enterprise. But it's not going to look 100% like it did in the
No,
and it shouldn't.
no, exactly. It shouldn't. Thank you.
I love Star Trek. I love every version of Star Trek. I love some old shows. I do not want them to remake them today and look like that. I don't want black and white television. I just don't. It's not what is appealing to someone to make today. Now, if you told me it was made in the 60s, I'm okay with that. But I don't want something made in 2017 to look like it was made in the 60s.
Agree. And the thing is, Star Trek is enduring because the stories are timeless and the characters are timeless. Yes, the technology gets upgraded and we can do more interesting things visually, but that's ultimately not exactly what it's about. Yes, the ship is a character, but if that ship looks a little bit better than, say, its 60s counterpart, its 60s inspiration, I don't have a problem with that because it's still Star Trek to me. And regardless of characters we know played by other people, I'm okay with those characters existing with new actors playing them. I'm okay with that. So it's just, it's a matter of opinion, and I still will watch Star Trek regardless of these seemingly huge visual contradictions, because to me, it's more than that. It's so much more than that to me.
I agree. I'm with you on that. One thing I just want to mention real quick in the Twitterverse here, we got something from Rebecca Skipper going back to what we talked about earlier about the principles. And this, she's saying this isn't the first time we've seen Star Trek abandon principles, and she points to insurrection. So, so there you go.
Yeah.
What are you laughing about?
They keep coming up, Patrick.
Yes, insurrection. Yes,
Insurrection.
Massive abandonment. So many things to laugh about in there.
See, I took the mood and.
I can't even tell you what's going on in the chat now because this is a PG show. So
I'm sorry. Please go on. We've seen a couple times when Star Trek has abandoned its morals. At least we've seen bad morals, right? So I'm trying to get back on track here, guys. I'm sorry.
And did any of those things turn out well? No, they did not.
But technically, this happened before all of those, so they didn't know that all those other ones turned out bad yet.
To be fair, if Cornwell was really a bad admiral, she wouldn't have entertained any other solutions.
No, but she sounded like she was going to be one when that conversation started. You want to do this here?
Yeah. Wow. And she's like, oh, yeah, I want to do this here.
Yeah, right here, right now.
Yeah.
Dance off.
I would pay money to watch that.
That would have been awesome. It would have made no sense.
Yeah.
I'm crying.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm going to skip all of those latest comments in the chat, but
well, I haven't read these yet.
Well, we're not going to talk about them.
By the way, there is something in the chat before we wrap the show up, and it's not what you think I'm going to say, but there's been comments about Spock and Sarek, because now that we're seeing the Enterprise here at the end, what is the relationship with Spock and Sarek at this point in the timeline? Are they estrained? When was the last time they saw each other?
They would be estranged because they wouldn't have come to a tense understanding of each other yet. And that's clear in the original series as well. So, and in fact, it's not even until Star Trek IV, the freaking voyage home, that Sarek admits that he was mistaken in objecting to Spock joining Starfleet. Your friends are people, or your associates are people of good character. And yeah, so that's the first time he really admits that. So it takes a long time for Sarek to eat a little bit of crow on that front.
Yeah, I do like how they tried to kind of retcon that a little bit in this show, though, where they kind of fill in a backstory that gives you a reason for him to at least be annoyed at first. I mean,
yeah, well,
not for like decades, but they also live like, forever, so it's okay.
Yeah, and to be fair, it creates this interesting plot point of the guilt that Sarek feels for, he had to only choose one of those kids, so he chose Spock, and then Spock didn't want to be chosen.
He picked the wrong one.
Yeah, but the thing is that I don't think Spock really knew that that's what had happened. I don't think he had any clue that, because I'm pretty sure that Michael would never have known that had she not done that astral mind meld back in the first part of the season with Sarek when she was trying to find him and save his life. So I doubt that Spock ever knew that.
Yeah, I would assume not.
Because I don't think anybody knew that except for Spock, Amanda, and Michael. And the Vulcan science exploration group.
Sarek, Amanda, and Michael.
Yeah. What did I say?
You said Spock.
I didn't mean Spock. I meant Michael. I was picturing Michael and my mouth said Spock somehow. I'm discombobulated, friends.
So Brian says in 2250, Sarek broke off his relationship with Spock when he decided to apply to Starfleet Academy. And I remember it being a long time, and Captain April, not the real Captain April, one in the chat says, it has kept Spock and Sarek from speaking as father and son for 18 years. That's a quote from Amanda from the original series. So from Amok Time. No. Journey to Babel. Sorry.
Yep.
Right. So now, all right. So my years are all messed up. How far ahead of that are we now?
So we're in, oh my gosh, where are we? 2256, right?
Yes.
I think. Somebody Google it really fast.
Yeah, I think it's 2256.
And they stopped talking.
With the 9-month jump, it could be 2257 now. But they started stopped talking 18 years. So this.
Right. There's only 7, right? When did he get in?
The time Journey to Babel, we're talking about 10-year difference between this episode and Journey to Babel, about a decade.
However, do Spock and Sarek really speak as father and son during that episode?
Oh, I love how you say, yeah, because they've been kept from speaking as father and son for 18 years. Doesn't mean they didn't speak.
Yeah, but their conversations would be basically just Vulcan to Vulcan and very devoid of any personal attachment.
Or Starfleet information only.
Mm-hmm.
I'd actually rather try and watch them figure out how to work around them two talking all episode.
Yeah, so that's the way I interpreted it. So.
Yeah, well, they may not. Yeah, when we get to season 2, if we see Spock and all that, Sarek and Spock may not speak to each other. We just may see them sitting together in the mess hall, eating, but never speaking to each other.
Yeah, well, and let's think about.
And then Tilly comes over and sits with them.
Let's think about this too, because Michael Burnham was on the Shinzo for 7 years. Okay. We don't know at exactly what point this particular situation happened, but it was after that Sarek basically pushed Michael into Starfleet and said, here you go. Fly, little bird, fly. And so 7 years has passed since that point. You add another year for the episode that we're currently going through. or the season we're currently going through. So it's been 8 years. So 10 years in the future would work.
Right.
Everybody's like, oh, I need a pencil. But in
they
any
haven't
case,
spoken in 18.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though. 10 years from when Discovery is happening.
Would be 18 years from when?
From when the whole
Burnham
situation happened. Yes.
But isn't it 18 years from when Spock got into Starfleet?
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know. I'm tired of math. I'm tired of math. It probably shortly after the whole situation with Michael being rejected by the Council Exploration Group, the Science Exploration Group. So, because that they said they were only going to take one person who was not fully Vulcan. So I would assume that happened right around the same time.
Maybe. I don't know.
It doesn't even matter. It doesn't really.
We'll find out next season. What
My head
Spock?
hurts.
From what I understand, Spock is younger than Burnham. I don't know. From what I remember reading in the first novel, it seemed like it was like maybe by a decade. Maybe not quite that much, but I don't know.
Well, here's an interesting thought. Tilly would so try to get Burnham and Spock to bury the hatchet, says Automated Joy. And then I want to see that now. They say right after. So that would be endlessly entertaining. Is to see Tilly go up against Spock. I could watch that.
I could watch that too. Patrick, could you watch that?
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
Oh, God.
I'm not enamored with Tilly like everyone else is, I guess. I don't know.
Well, like Bruce's wife, I see a lot of myself in Tilly, especially saying awkward things when I'm nervous.
Patrick doesn't like my wife.
And apparently
I've
he doesn't like
insulted her, said I don't like her. I haven't even met the poor lady.
And you don't like me either, I guess. That's fine.
Guess not.
Well,
Do you like Troy?
I like Troy.
Okay. Well, there you go, Brandi. He likes your look.
Yeah. So we're down again. That's cool.
If I had some black contact lenses, it would just complete the look.
But I don't mean it like that. I didn't say it like that. Woman. It just seems like that's everyone's favorite character. And maybe I'm just a hater, but she's not my favorite character.
She doesn't have to be your favorite character. In fact, my
Stamets
favorite
should be.
I like Stamets a lot.
You can have whatever
I
favorite
like
character.
Burnham, yes.
I like someone who has no problem punching someone in the mouth and then saying sorry later. That's cool with me.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that I liked Michael from the start. And if pressed, because I have a difficulty picking favorites, Patrick already knows this.
Oh, yes.
And so if you press me, I will say that my favorite character is Michael Burnham. But I have a great soft spot for Tilly. So, and not everybody likes her. Not everybody has to. Because if we all like the same things, how boring this world would be.
Oh, terrible. And then and if everyone liked the same things, I'd have to like Saru and no. It's just, I can't hang out with him. I would always just assume death is around the corner and he's not telling me.
That's true.
Like, I can't drive down the street. There's a car coming. No, there's not, Pat. You wouldn't tell me anyway.
It's okay.
Well, yeah, it's okay. Just, find other friends.
Yeah. I'm chilling with Michael.
Find other friends who can pronounce insurrection correctly.
I tried that.
Bruce, you're out.
we can edit all that out of the show. Oh wait, this is live.
Yeah, we can't edit that out. So
well, we need to wrap up this episode anyway. So we're at the end. We're at the end. We've discovered.
Oh boy, it feels like I did this for the first one.
You did.
You did. It wasn't quite this fun though.
That's because we weren't comfortable with each other yet.
I didn't know either of you at all then.
Yeah. But now you know too much.
Well, I guess that means
is
he
also
doesn't
true.
listen to literary tracks. Hmm.
Yeah,
No, I
you
said
know,
I didn't know you. I didn't say I didn't listen to you.
yeah, Patrick, you know too
Oh,
much, and you better keep your big mouth shut.
There we go. Now I feel more at home.
There you go. See, I know what to do.
Well, so Brandi, do you want to close us out, and then we'll tell people where we can. I can't talk tonight. Obviously,
We'll do all
we
that
can
other
tell
stuff
people
you
where-
do at the end of the show of all these shows that we have.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is that a lot of these shows are not going to continue until Discovery returns. So I'm going to augment this a bit and edit as I'm doing it. So this week you can check out our Discovery coverage throughout the week. When new episodes of Discovery start again, we will be doing Live from the Edge on Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern, and it will be released as a podcast on Tuesday mornings. And then there will be a commentary available with Mike Schindler as Tracks from the Edge on Wednesday. We'll discuss the feedback on Postcards from the Edge on Thursday with the lovely Amy Nelson. I'm Dark Amy, by the way. Brandon already determined that. And you can catch the full analysis on the Edge Main Show on Friday. Now, the Edge Main Show, to my knowledge, will be continuing twice a month until Discovery returns. And I think that Amy has a couple more Postcards from the Edge planned to look at the series overall. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that was the last thing I heard. So, and then wrapping up the week, join us for Notes from the Edge on Saturday with Chris Jones for links between Discovery and the broader franchise. It'll blow your mind, man. Blow your mind. So we'd love to hear your thoughts on Discovery and a lot of speculation over what's going to happen for the next 11 months. And the best place to do that is the Babel Conference, which is our listeners group on Facebook. And that is where Amy Nelson will collect your feedback for Postcards from the Edge. You can find us on Twitter at TrekFM or send us an email using the contact form on our website at trek.fm/contact. Choose to send to a show and choose the Edge. And we'd also like to thank our lovely associate producers, Norman Selau, Tony Robinson, Thomas Paleo, Lisa Slack, Shoaib Mirza, Richard Rutledge, and Cornelia Reutner. And if you'd like to help keep all of our shows going and even become an associate producer, please visit patreon.com/trekfm for all the details.
Wow, that was good. That was a lot. You got through that.
I know.
Speaking of, oh goodness,
I'm sorry.
we're gonna miss each other, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. It's going to be difficult.
Oh, we're all still around. We're still doing shows together, right?
Yeah, it's just
You get to see Patrick often. I'm sorry.
like weekly now.
She knows she's going to meet up with me again next Monday to do another show.
Yeah, but it's just this is my first this was and will ever be my first show for Trek FM. And so dang it. So it's going to be really hard for me to not do it for the next 11 plus months, depending on when Discovery returns. So I will miss it very much. And I miss doing the show every week with you, Bruce, and having our special guests. And hopefully all will be the same when we return for Discovery Season 2. But until then, I'm going to really miss this.
I am too. It's been a pleasure and an honor to be doing the show with you. I didn't know you at all, really, when we started this, and we just clicked right away, especially when we found out we both do improv.
Yep. Yep. It was bonding.
Yes. Bonding.
So, yeah. So,
Still around.
yeah.
And Patrick, yeah, you know, he was there for the first time, and now he's here for the last time. He's the bread to the sandwich.
Or that cat that keeps coming back no matter where you leave him. Whatever.
Yeah, there's a song about that we used to sing at girls' camp. The cat came back. We thought he was a goner, but the cat came back.
Here I am. The very next day. And no, I didn't go to girls' camp. I know the song another way.
Sure that you do.
I'm learning too much about you, Patrick.
Yeah, you probably are.
But you know what I don't know necessarily? Where can people find you online?
So that's easy. You can find me on the Babel conference. I poke my head in there all the time. You can find me on Twitter at Magic Drop 5, one word. The 5 is a number. And you can find me co-hosting with Brandi and Brandon at Warp 5. And that's it. I'm not as busy as the rest of you people.
So, Brandi, what about you? Where can people find you?
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at something. My husband said the Star Trek Girls Camp, the next series.
I'd watch it.
Anyway, you can find me also on Twitter at BrandyWine12. It's Brandi with an I and the number 12. And I do hop into the Babel Conference. The Babel Conference.
See, I'm not the only one who can't talk tonight.
Yeah, but you didn't say something accidentally naughty. Anyway, you can also find me on Warp 5, like Patrick said. And I do a podcast with my husband, Dave, called the Dark Corner Podcast, where we talk about whatever the heck we want, but usually pop culture and nerd stuff and things that we like, but we look at it from a darker perspective. And if you want to hear me swear, that's a good place to go to hear it. So don't let children listen to it unless you want your children to swear like sailors. So Bruce, my sweet Bruce, where in the world can people find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Admiral_Rex. And for those who are listening and are not members of Patreon here at Trek FM, if you join, then you could join our Patreon roundtable that's recording this Saturday, where we're talking about the whole season 1 of Discovery. And so I'll be hosting that. So it would be just like doing this, but we can edit it. And then you can also find me on Literary Treks with Dan Gunther. It's our official books and comics show here on Trek FM. We're talking about Star Trek books and comics. And also I talk Star Wars on the Star Wars Report podcast. And of course, I'm always in the Babel conference. And I'm enjoying reading some of the things that are being said in chat. They're going to miss us and they've enjoyed us. And I want to thank everyone who's joined us live or even listened to this recorded on the Edge feed. Appreciate everything that you guys have done supporting us and all the different co-hosts that we've had. And this won't be the last. It's just the last of this live show.
For a while.
For a while.
Yeah.
We don't know how long is a while.
Yeah, well, according to comments in the chat, it could be January or it could be April next year. So it could be right. It could be as little as 11 months or as many as 14 months. So we shall see. We shall see. But I can't wait to come back and do it again.
Me too. I hope.
Yep.
We'll see.
So I guess for the last time for a while, live long and prosper, keep calm and disco on. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.